Okay, here we are again, old 86, for a little more talking about my life. I enjoy remembering back on some of the things that happened. Now, if you remember, when I was working at that, what was to be a nuclear plant, when the government okayed the use of nuclear boilers, during that time, of course, we worked many hours, and things got real tough family-wise, because when you're away working 12 hours a day and that, you don't have much time. But I'd like to tell you about a few things that I thought was kind of interesting. For example, just a little bit west of there, the mountains went up, and it's the Appalachian Mountains. And along the ridge of the top of that mountain, for 1,000 miles north and south, is a hiking trail. And we decided to check on that, because that's quite a long hike.
Right.
And we got up there, and I believe we walked for an hour in one direction, and we decided that was enough, because we had to walk another hour going back to the car. We wasn't going to make 1,000 miles in one day.
Right.
After all. So that's just one thing that if you're a real hiker, that's just beats all I ever saw. 1,000 miles going on the top of a mountain ridge, going north and south. Well, another thing that we did, you know, you have to have a little bit of relaxation and time with your wife. So we got checking out, and well, you know, there's different organizations that have little clubs, and like they have a dance floor and music, so usually some kind of little orchestra or bands, and a bar, of course, and tables and benches. Well, I don't know, you've probably been to more bars than I have, or clubs, but anyway, you know, even the VA, well, it wasn't the VA sponsored, but it was a club for veterans. Of course, other people could come there too, but, and well, there's so many of these little organizations. But anyway, we'd go out and enjoy dancing and the music, and it was a big help. Took our mind off our job. But there's also, we became acquainted with well, people that worked there. Some of our friends that was working for us, and that there's one of them that invited us out to his house. Well, I guess it was his house or a friend's house. They was having a party, and so we said, well, that might be a good relaxing time, you know. Go out there and talk about the work. That's what usually happens when a bunch of people get together from the same company. So anyway, we found the house, and it's a pretty big house. Nice brick home, and it sounded like a party was going on in there, all right. And so we walked in the door, and they had a little entranceway, and then well, it's really one big room, but the dining room was on this side, and the living room was on this side, and there must have been, there's big rooms. And by golly, there must have been at least 30 or 40 couples on each side that were just thick with people just dancing away. I guess I shouldn't even tell you this, but well, I got to get it off my shoulders. I don't know about my wife, but I was fascinating because everybody in there was naked. Now, if you can imagine that. And the men, most of the men had, I guess, their wife's panties. There's dancing and waving the panties, and well, after all, I'm a man, and for some reason I have kind of an attraction to look at things like that. But we was ushered in, and I really was looking, and the lady says, "Come on here in the kitchen and you can get undressed in there." So we walked in the kitchen, and me and my wife looked at each other, and she says, "Let's get out of here." So we did. We walked right back in, out through them and out, and went home. That was really an experience. My goodness. Just something to dream about. Oh. Well. Did I talk about the time we camped out, went down to the beach? I don't think I did I? Because we went down to the beach, and we had bought a camp tent. It was 2 rooms, one all enclosed with a couple windows that you could open and close, and then the front room was screened in. And well, it had a roof on it, and it had actually could enclose it if you wanted to unroll the stuff and fix it. So anyway, we played cards and had a good time. And it was right on the beach, you know, people water skiing and everything. And so we played some cards, and it got late, so we went to bed. In the bedroom, of course.
Right.
And you know what happened? The next morning, our mattress was blown up, air, rubber type mattresses. We was floating in water.
Huh.
I don't know. Well, it did rain, but I guess maybe the tide must have came in too, because we was flowing in water, and my goodness, that water must have been maybe 10 inches deep. And, well, wasn't that a fun time? So we had to get all everything was wet, and we drug it up off the higher elevation and was able to. We still had a good time, you know, because you can get down on the beach and really enjoy yourself. It's kind of relaxing. The fact is that brings back the memory of when I lived in Defuniak Springs, Florida, working at the Air Force Base there. The family, their kids and us and all the part of the family, every weekend would go down. It wasn't on the beach. Now, there's a highway that runs, the main highway, of course, is inland about 30 miles, but they had a highway that went along the beach, and it was kind of like a big wide, well, it was wider in places and wider not, but there's a waterway, and then they had, wherever there's a road going down to the beach, they had a bridge, and we'd go down to that bridge and fish, and we'd catch a bunch of fish and make a bonfire and have fried fish and stuff. That was really a lot of fun, you know. I enjoyed that, and I think everybody there did too. Now, my wife's brother was the postmaster of the post office there. He was a younger brother.
Right.
And he had bought about a 40-acre, well, it was pasture, and I guess it might have been a farm at one time, but he had a nice brick building or house, and 3 or 4 bedrooms and stuff like that. Well, he'd invite us out for quite often for dinner or supper. I was raised on a farm, and I've always called it supper. And it seems like every time I go to work and people talk about the evening meal, they call it dinner, which it is. But a lot of people call it supper.
Right.
No, a lot of people call it dinner, and I called it supper. And I had to explain to them that I was raised on a farm, because everybody I knew on a farm, you have breakfast, dinner, and supper. Well, that's beside the point. We'll get back to going west from Yorktown is where you hit the Appalachian Mountains. And so you go on up till you're on the top, you know, and up at the top they have a big bridge across, not a big bridge, but a big hiking bridge across that's part of the Appalachian hiking trail. And then on down to the other side was a place that had a lake, pretty good sized lake, and right in the middle of the lake they had a tower. It must have went up about 4 or 5 stories that you could climb up, and from the top of the tower going down on each side to the base they had, I guess it had been a wire cable. Well, you could rent, well, yeah, I guess you rented the thing, and I guess that paid for using it.
Right.
But they had a thing that had 2 wheels with handle on it. That you could go up there and put that on the wire and boy, go down, and that was really a fun thing there. And I liked that. And then they had horses. A place you could rent horses. Fact is, my 2 boys got a job there and they got a job there because they'd met some girls down at the beach on that little lake. And I guess they lived up there. They must have been parents of the people that owned the horses. So I guess, well, they got to ride horses a lot. They had quite a lot of trails for that. And it didn't cost them nothing.
Right.
And, you know, you might could even rent a horse to go on the Appalachian Trail. I didn't think of it then. But I wouldn't have done it anyway. Because that goes back to when I was back on the farm. I'd never rode a horse either. And we had 2 big old work horses. And one weekend, now this is, remember, this is just when I was in maybe the 5th grade, maybe the 6th grade of school. I'd never rode a horse before, and so but I wanted to go over to the friend of mine that lived about 1.5 miles away. And I went out in the barn and put, they have a thing bridle or something, they put a thing on their head, you know, that's got straps and
right.
stuff that they, you hook them up to lead them around with and stuff. There's big old work horses, and I was going to get on one of them and go over to see my friend. Well, work horses like that they don't like to be parted anyway, but they was good horses, and I didn't have no trouble going over there. I just got on top of the horse, sat there. I didn't have a blanket or a saddle or nothing. Just the bridle things going up there. And I made it over and had a visit with my friend. But you know how pairs of work horses, they don't like to be parted.
Right.
So I got on him and just got him started for the house, and he got into a gallop. I mean, he was running. And I didn't have a saddle or nothing. I grabbed for dear life that hair on her mane, but I made it home without falling off, and that's rough. But I went back to that on her when I was younger. So now, getting back, there was just one other. We'd got acquainted with a man that owned an appliance store that was a store and a repair department. And they was a real nice old couple. And we got acquainted with them, and we went out and visited them several times. Quite a few times the whole time we was there, because they became good friends. And so we'd go visit them, and it was just nice. We had nice visits. It didn't get wild like that other party we went to, but there was only one night we played strip poker. That got to be interesting, too. Well, okay, what happened, while I was there, I had bought me a little red Fiat. That's just a small Italian sports car. Two-seater, that's all I had room for, 2 seats. And that was my work car. And about, a couple of weeks before the job was to be over with, I bought a big old Chevy Suburban. Well, you know what they are.
Right.
They're covered in they're just a lot of room inside. In fact,
Right.
I got it because back this had 2 seats, and then in the back it was big enough that you could put a full-size mattress in there. You see, we was going to do a lot of camping out on our year's vacation.
Right.
So I was getting ready. See, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up before we... Oh, yeah! The job got finished, and the day after the work was done, well, I think everybody had, no, everybody didn't, because there were just a few cars in the parking lot. Most of the bosses and that was there to hand the power plant over to the Virginia Power and Light Company. And I know what happened because I had a good friend that was in the control room when it happened, and he knew why. The Virginia Light and Power Company got it up full power, and the engineer from the power company told the operators, okay, take the pressure up more, take it up more, take it up more. And he said they got it up there, and that's why the boiler exploded. Boy, if that wasn't something. And my car wasn't damaged. And the others wasn't damaged bad, but there was a lot of metal that went all over.
Right.
A lot of cars was hit with chunks of flying, pieces of steel and things like that. But it's real surprising. I mean, it didn't hurt the mainframe or anything of the power plant. Fact is, right around the middle of the boiler, they had these big steel beams. They was this big with the 2 big cross pieces at the top and bottom. Big. I mean, they was big, powerful steel girders. And they was, well, the one was just all twisted and that blown them off. Well, they was still up there hanging, but they busted at places. Not the girder itself. They was all twisted, and so my little Fiat was small and down amongst the other bigger cars, so nothing hit it. So the big day came for us to take off. I can't think, yeah. Seems like, see, I was on our year's vacation then, and we took off going up over the Appalachian Trail, and then, heavens, we went into a lot of mountains, and we got up at the top of one mountain ridge where they had a pull off, with picnic tables and stuff like that. And we'd been fixing ourselves some supper and putting our tent up, and when we sat down to eat, there was 2 squirrels, big bushy tail, coming walking across from the woods to the table, and they came right up to the table. And we were up there squeaking away, and hand feed them. real wild animals. I guess they tourists and that had fed them so much that they became really tame to walk right up out of the woods.
Right.
That's was one of the real interesting things, I thought. So that was a real nice trip. What we was going to do was go across the top of, not clear to the border, but back on one of the main highways, clear across the upper part of the United States, because I'd never been in that part of the country. And we really enjoyed that. And the only thing I had odd that happened, we stayed at a motel one night. Well, we stayed in a motel a lot, hotels and stuff like that. Ate in cafes. And we just enjoyed getting out and seeing the country. And you know, we in the United States, I believe we have more beautiful country than a lot of people realize. You don't have to go over to no island or nowhere to enjoy beautiful country. And well, anyway, we went back home and I found out that, well, I knew my first wife had, I told you about when I got married and stuff, didn't I? Millie, my second
Right.
wife. Okay, well, I found out that I had 2 boys and a girl from my first wife. And she's the one that got the divorce.
Right.
Always wanting money. I wouldn't give her nothing. I told her, you got the divorce. So my brother, I was working, I stopped to visit with them, and he gave me a little job. He had a contract to do the electrical wiring in an apartment complex. Oh, a couple hundred units, I guess. It was a pretty big job. And he had me, put me to work for a week or two just to make a little extra spending money. And I was out in one of the buildings working on the entrance of the electricity. You know, they have wires going down to a thing that goes down in the house. That on one of the apartment buildings, when my brother sent out a runner to tell me to hide because the sheriff was there looking for me.
Huh.
And that's what it was all about. My wife wanted some more money, and I guess she went to the law or something, and going to have the law getting money out of me. And I was determined not to pay her, which I never did. I didn't pay her more, it was all her idea. Looking back, the only reason she married me was so that she could get out of that small town to start with. Because she let me know that she had a bunch of boyfriends down in that local bar. That's when I first got out of Haiti. She told me that when I wouldn't, and she says she could get a bunch of them to really beat me up. Well, they never did find me. And the sheriff never did find me either, because I climbed up in that partially finished building up in the attic, and I sat there all afternoon, and that sheriff wasn't going to wait. When they couldn't find me, they left. I never was bothered again with the sheriff or anybody looking for me. Fact is, I don't know whether I told you about when me and Millie, my wife, when we, it was after I retired. We went to Phoenix, Arizona. I think Phoenix is in Arizona.
Right.
And we got in low-cost housing there. Did I ever tell you about that?
Not yet.
Well, Phoenix is a really nice place. It's like Seattle. The weather is, you can't beat it, because it's in a valley. It's low altitude, and there's mountains all around, and it really snows and all that around them, but the weather, and we stayed there a couple of years, and the weather was always really nice. It get cooler, you know, but it surprised me how really nice it was. And, well, anyway, when I left there, of course, we went back to Florida from there. And well, I guess I went back to the air base and worked there. But I'm trying to think of what was next.
We can stop there if you want.
Okay, that'd be a good stopping point.
Okay.